up, fam? It's your favorite cousin, your favorite uncle, your favorite nephew, your favorite father, your favorite son, your best friend's best friend. It's me, Dr. Larry, and welcome to Living For You, the YouTube channel. This is a safe space. It is a positive place in which we come together, we gather together, we learn from one another, we educate one another, and we share with one another on this common journey that we all have, and that journey is the journey of life. So welcome, 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 my lovely families. My lovely family, I love you all. Thanks for sharing the videos. Thanks for liking the videos. Thanks for the comments, the DMs, the emails. Thank you for your support. I value you. Those of you who watch the channel but who have yet to subscribe, go ahead and hit the subscription button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. And to those of you who've never seen my face before, I am Dr. Larry Smith. I'm a certified life and spiritual coach, amongst a whole host of other things. You can go back through a whole bunch of videos and actually learn a lot more about me, should you be interested. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a history teacher. I have a business called Creole Boy Clothing. In May, you should be able to go out there and get your own because it's comfortable, it's nice, and it's cool. But anyway, if you want to know more about me, you can actually go to www.liveforyoucoaching.com. That is my business website. Live For You Coaching is my business. That's www.liveforyoucoaching.com. And if you want to just keep up with me daily, as I post things daily, you can actually follow me on social media. And you can find me at Dr. Larry Smith on both Instagram and on Twitter. That is, and Facebook. That's Dr. Larry Smith on both Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Mostly Instagram and Facebook. But anyway, welcome, fam. I wanted to do a story time. I don't ever do story times on this channel, really. I think I've done maybe one or two somewhere way back in the day, but because I'm doing this 40 videos to my 40th birthday, I decided to throw in some story time. So I'm going to throw in a story time. And I'm going to talk about the time that I got arrested. Dramatic, right? Just so dramatic. But anyway, well, I didn't get arrested. I almost got arrested at that particular time. Not saying I've never gotten arrested before, and maybe we'll do story times on those. However, this is a time when I was a kid. Now, mind you, it's four of us. I have a sister, and it's three boys, me and my two brothers. Me and the brother after me, for a long time, we were very, very, very close. I mean, we're just 2 years apart. So we kind of used to go outside and play all the time. We played Power Rangers. He was always the Red Ranger because that was his favorite, and because he was the leader and he thought he was the leader. I was always the Black Ranger, and oddly enough, I was the Black Ranger, but I wanted the pterodactyl of the Pink Ranger because the flying machine was cool and it was a bird, and I was just like into that. And then she did all these aerobics type, gymnastics type. She was kind of cool. So I was the Black Ranger with Pink Ranger stuff. And we did everything. When we played Ninja Turtles, he was usually Leonardo, once again that leader thing in his brain. And then, of course, I was Michelangelo, the cool one, the chill one, the one that probably more than likely was a Gemini. But anyway, so we were always doing things, getting into little mischief, flipping and jumping and climbing and fighting and everybody and everything. We were just having blasts. We were being a kid. And actually, some of my fondest memories of being a child comes from just hanging out and acting a fool and being silly and having fun with my siblings. Despite all of the things we had gone through together, when we got together and when we were together as kids, it was lovely and fun many times. And this was actually a fun time, but it actually was an interesting time, and it's actually a silly thing. We lived in an apartment complex, and I think I had to be probably about 8 or 9 at the time, because my brother, he was about 6 or 7. So he was not that much younger, but we weren't teenagers. We were like kids, little kids. And we had this little silly game that we would play often, actually. We would do it a lot. We did it at least probably 20 times before anything actually came out of it. So we would go, back in the day, they had payphones. I know you guys are into this technology where everybody has a cell phone. Very few people have house phones. Very few businesses really operate on the landline situation. But there was a time where, prior to the cell phone revolution, payphones was the way to go. You put your little 25 cents in at that time. Now that probably gave away my age without me already saying my age. This was a time when payphones were 25 cents. And they were around long enough for payphones to go up from 25 cents to 35 cents, and then eventually to 50 cents. And then by that time they went up to $1. And by the time they went to $1, more cell phones were coming in, and people were using their cell phones because it seemed like it was cheaper, and payphones became to be archaic. I think I saw one the other day. I meant to go and check to see if it worked just for kicks and giggles, but nevertheless, this was a 25-cent payphone in our neighborhood, in the apartment community that we had lived in. Now, we were just kids doing silly things that we thought were funny. So we would actually pick up the phone, me and my brothers, well, me and that particular brother would pick up the phone, we'll dial 911 because 911 was always free on all payphones, right? If you dialed 911 from a phone, the police could immediately track it and be at that phone in no time, or be wherever you need them to be at that time. So we would pick up the phone, dial 911, and we would call, and then they would pick up 911, and we would hang up and run. We would hang up and run. And we would do that multiple times. We'd pick up the phone, they would pick up 911, hang up, and run. And we would laugh. And I don't know if it was probably because of the adrenaline of it all. We would find it funny. And I know, now, disclaimer, I guess, that is not the right thing to do. But you got to think you're dealing with an 8, 9-year-old and a 6, 7-year-old. So you're dealing with kids who are just kids. And it wasn't that our parents didn't teach us better. It was just that we just didn't, like I said, we didn't see any harm in it, in that space at that time as kids in that apartment community playing on that payphone. So we would call the number, dial 911, they'll pick up, and we'll hang up, run, laugh, and it just be this silly situation. There were even a couple of times in which we've picked up the phone, sorry, I'm spitting. We picked up the phone, we called 911, the police actually rode through, and we'd watch the police ride through. And we would laugh and giggle and run and feel, I don't know, vindicated or happy or whatever you feel when you do something silly and stupid like that. So on this particular day, we picked up the phone, we dialed 911, and they picked up and said 911, and we hung up. Well, here's what winds up happening on this particular day. We called 911, and it happened to be a cop in the neighborhood, in the apartment community, police, two police officers riding in the same car in the neighborhood. We didn't know. So we picked up the phone, we called the number 911 and hang up, and all of a sudden the police just show up. like it was like, I was like, where did they come from? We should have seen them coming. But it just so happens that as we were playing on the phone, they were right there and they showed up right there. My brother, now mind you, this brother is very athletic. He has always been athletic. I consider him more athletic to me. He played college sports for a little bit. He played high school sports, middle school sports. So he's always been he was always an active kid. So he darts off and he runs home, right? Runs home. And I remember our apartment number was G57. I remember specifically. He darts home. And me, in my infinite wisdom, I'm like paranoid and scared. I'm like, what's going on? So I just stay there. Like, I freeze. Yeah, I know, right? You're the one. Yes, I'm the one that if there's ever a situation of craziness and chaos, especially at that time, if I can't manage it in my mind, I don't know what to do. I get incapacitated. So I just froze. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I didn't say anything. I just sat there quietly as the police came and said, young man, what are you doing? Why are you playing on the phone? Where do you live? Who are your parents? Just asking me all these questions. And I'm answering them, being respectful. No, ma'am. No, sir. Yes, sir. All these things, just being respectful. And then the cop's like, well, take us to your house. Take us so we can take you to your parents and tell your parents about this. Now, mind you, at 8, 9 years old and before, and probably a little bit after, I was terrified of my parents. My parents were the type of parents that they weren't the warm and fuzzies all the time. Their way was kind of fear and intimidation. And y'all know a lot of parents, especially in our community, black community, our parents tend to be a little tough. We got a tough mama, we got a tough dad, and most of us kids, at some point, we have kind of, I'll say, a wholesome fear of our parents. So I was terrified, but I said, okay, nevertheless, we're gonna go, I'm gonna take you to the house. So I'm riding in the back of the police car. I had never been in a police car, so I'm thinking I had gotten arrested anyway in my brain. I'm already arrested. I'm in the back of this car. You got this big gate in front of me, and you got 2 police officers, white guys, and I'm just like, oh my God, my life is ruined. Now, mind you, I'm a kid, so I'm thinking my life is ruined. So we knock on the door, And well, the police knock on the door, and my mom opens the door, and here's her kid, me, standing in between these two tall cops. And my mom's like, oh Lord, what he done did. You know, now mind you, we weren't really bad kids like that we were always out there in the streets getting into all kinds of mischief. Most of our mischief was between each other in the house, because our mom kind of, you know, they hovered over us a lot of times, for most of our early childhood. And so so we weren't really getting in school mischief as much. I mean, my sister and the brother that I was calling on the phone with probably did more than anyone else as far as being disruptive in school, but it was never really anything grand where the police were involved or we were stealing. And even though I did have an incident in which I stole some Werther's Originals from the store when I was a kid, we'll talk about that probably in another story time. But nevertheless, I'm standing in between these two tall police officers. My mom like, what did he do? What's going on? And they tell her, well, your son has been playing on the phone. They didn't see my younger brother at first. Your son has been playing on the phone. Now, mind you, while I'm in the middle of these cops, I'm looking at my brother Josh, and he is sweating bullets. He's so nervous and so paranoid. And I just see him so nervous. And my mom put two and two together, and she wondered, well, that's why you just ran home like you was running for your life and all this other stuff, because you had been playing on the phone and the cops showed up. So she said, okay, so she said, we'll deal with it, we'll work with it, we'll be in touch with you with the cops. The cops left, right? And we're there nervous, and my son says, so y'all want to play on the phone? So she goes and she tells my dad they're playing on the phone, this. And my dad and my mom devised this scheme to put the fear of God and the fear of the police in us, so that we never, ever do that again. So they said, oh, well, my mom, they sit us down and they said, well, you know what y'all did was wrong, and y'all have to suffer consequences. The consequences of doing what y'all did was y'all got to go to jail. The cops said they want to arrest y'all because what y'all were doing is illegal and y'all need to be arrested. And so we like scared. My brother, even before he even get a chance to even fully ingest everything that he's being said, Josh is crying, just immediately showing emotions. Aries, right? Just immediately showing emotions. And me, totally Gemini, I'm kind of stoic, I'm scared, and my feet I'm kind of like the duck. On top I'm calm, but underneath I'm pedaling. And so I'm just kind of just like, oh my God, like, you know, but I'm trying to keep my composure and trying to look strong and appear strong. I don't know why I have always been that kid that I try to always look strong. Even as a kid, I just tried to maintain my decorum and composure. Not knowing why I was like that, I just did it. But Josh is just crying. So they load us up in the car. Me and Josh were in the back seat, and we just looking at each other. You know, Josh is rocking and crying, sweating, tears, just snotty, all kinds of craziness. And I'm just looking at him like, like, dude, like if this was really like if we were really on like a major, like America's Most Wanted situation, you're ruining it. Like, like you're totally ruining our experience here. And so, yeah, we're sitting there in the car. Now, mind you, the police station was not even a mile from our house. We literally could have walked to the police station because it kind of sat in an apartment community across the street from where we live. So they drove us and we sat in the car. You know, we were just nervous, and my mom, they parked, and my mom was like, y'all ready? I mean, y'all should have did what y'all did. You know, just playing the whole game the whole time. And we nervous, and I'm like, no, Mom, I don't want to go. And that's when I start to kind of shed a little tear, whatever. My mom was like, there's nothing we can do about it. They have to arrest y'all because what y'all did was a crime and it was wrong. And so they go to put us into the police station, and the people in the police station seem to already be down on this scheme. I think my mama secretly told the cops what they were going to do because the same cops were there. And they had already had us sitting in the police station for a while, blah, blah, blah. We waited there for a few minutes, and probably like about 30 minutes or so. We just sat there thinking we were about to be booked in and thrown in somebody's jail for making a prank phone call to the police station. And then that's when my mom started laughing. Her and my dad just bust out laughing. They're like, boy, y'all ain't going to jail. Y'all not going to jail. But y'all should know not to do stuff like that because it's wrong. And they just laughed at the whole time because like we were freaking out. Like I didn't show that much emotion. But the emotion, you could tell I was scared, and my brother was just freaking the hell out. And so they started laughing, and it was like, nope, y'all not going to jail, but y'all not supposed to do that. And they explained to us why we weren't supposed to call the police, and the cops explained to us why we weren't supposed to call the police, and they all got a laugh at our expense. But it reminds me of things like that. When I think of my siblings, we always got into, especially with each other, like just this little silly, mischievous stuff, and that would have been an interesting time if we had gotten put in jail over that. It just would have been a crazy situation or whatever. But it was a crazy situation and silly. I was more, now looking back on it, it's more silly, and I'm thinking about my brother's responses and how he was just over the top emotional about what was going on. And then I'm thinking about my responses of how I was trying to play tough, like I was the tough guy, I'm the older brother. You know, I was taking responsibility for what we had done, and I influenced them. They even said that too, like, how could you influence your younger brother to do such and such and whatever. But it was an interesting experience. Not every lesson that parents teach have to involve discipline as far as physical or yelling or screaming. Sometimes you can do things like this and teach your kids valuable lessons. Because I'm telling you, I've never called the cops without a motivation from that point on. I said, you know what? I ain't gonna even risk it. I'm not gonna pick up the phone and do prank calls. It just never happened again after that, because I had learned the lesson, and I feel I learned it the hard way, but I had learned the lesson: don't call the cops in prank calls. But I was just sitting here and I was thinking about that, so I wanted to get on and have that story time of how I almost got arrested for crank calling the police officers, or crank calling the police station, hanging up, running, and thinking it was funny. It wasn't funny, but now looking back on it, it just goes down in my list of memories that make me smile, of us doing silly, goofy things as kids, growing up, trying to navigate this thing we call life. So anyway, family, that's all I wanted to speak about. Continue to like the video. Go ahead and give this video some thumbs up. And if you want to see more story time, I have a lot of stories. I have a lot of stories. And so if you want to hear more stories and see more story time videos, go ahead and smash the like button. And I can do some more stories. I'm definitely going to do some more stories in my 40 videos to my 40th. So expect that. Prepare yourself for that. Some of them are crazy, outrageous, because I have this crazy, outrageous life that I have now found my zen in how to navigate all this crazy stuff. So anyway, as I always say, I love you all with the highest love that God give us as humans possible to love each other. And I will see you in the next video.